So that's kind of what we're going to look at here. Let's look at a real life example then. Let's go into the Chicago board. Under quotes, go to quotes dashboard. So I don't want to choose a particular stock. I'd rather if anyone here wants to suggest to me what stock we should use as an example.
Apple, maybe.
Apple, okay. So type in Apple, scroll down, and I want to get the options chain here. Don't just get quote, just go to the options chain. But what I want you to do firstly, before we do this, is just take some information. So the last price for Apple is $276.10. So I just want to put in Apple. Okay. And that price is based on yesterday, which was the 22nd, wasn't it? $276.10. So that's the stock price. I will call that, if you remember from yesterday, your Black-Scholes option pricing model, that is referred to as S0. So there's a lot of, this is what I'm saying. It's probably better for you to write this out. It's quicker. All right, so this is your S0. Now what we want to do is find out, here's how I set up the questions, by the way. This is why I'm taking you through this. I just want you to understand how I'm coming out with the questions. So this is your stock price. Now let's go into the options chain. And we have different months here, April all the way over to January or June 2022, and we can keep going. So these are called expiry dates or expiration dates. So there's no point us going with an April one because this is going to expire tomorrow. Look at 24th of April. Okay, these prices. So if you can see here, on the left you have calls, on the right you have puts, and in the middle you have your strike. So your strike is like your insurance policy price that you want to take your option out on. These are the prices of the calls, and these are the prices of the puts. Let's have a look at a May contract for Apple on the 15th of May. So we can't go with the 8th because it would have expired just before your exam. So if you just go down to this one, okay, so we don't need a lot of this. Okay, so this is your question. Don't be put off by all these numbers and headings. Here you have your last, your net, bid, ask, volume. Do you know what IV is?
Implied volatility.
That's your implied volatility. Here's your delta, gamma, some of the Greeks, and this is your open interest. And you have the same headings here, okay? But for this question, you don't need a lot of this. So I'm just going to highlight here what we need. We need the strike prices. We don't need them all, okay? We're just going to need the price of the call, the price of the put. That's it, okay? Forget about the bid and the ask. You just go with the last. So that's all I want you to concentrate on. We're going to do the buyer of a call option. So where I have the X's in here, we're going to choose the exercise price. So what exercise price are you going to choose? If I say to you in the exam, I want you to do an at the money call option.
275.
So that's what I'm going to put in here, 275. And the price for the call option at that point, that price is 1310. Okay, so let's write in 1310. I might just say to you, I might just give you this table or a table like this, and I won't give you what I just highlighted here in blue. I won't give you that. It's up to you to decide. So I could have 4 different answers here and they're all valid. All right. The question, by the way, is show the profit profile of the buyer of a call option. That's what we have here. That's what I have as a heading. I have a couple of headings here. You don't have to put in 5 headings. 3 is enough. And the reason why I say 3 is enough is you want to take account of, firstly, your strike price and the price, the stock price at which that's at. So it's near the money. Look at, they're very close. And I want you to choose a value of Apple that is a lot lower than that stock and a lot higher than that stock, creating scenarios. What if Apple on the 15th of May ends up being, say, $200? And what if it ends up being $300 or any value that you want? So I'm going to put in my 275. This is just my strike. I'm just doing calculations here, 5 calculations. So the strike price or the exercise price won't change. So that has to stay as it is. My first actual price I'm going to put in here, 276. I'll put that in. Maybe ideally I should leave out the 10 cent, but let's stick with it. And some scenarios I'm going to create, I might go up and say multiples of $25. Okay, so my next one is going to be 250 and here 225. And likewise, I'll go $300 here and 325. If you only want to do 3 examples, definitely go with this one and any of these either side of it. Now I'm going to put in, let's ignore this next heading. I'm going to put in the premium. The premium also stays fixed, so I'm just going to copy that in. Remember, it's a negative. And then we decide whether we're going to abandon or exercise the option and whether we're going to claw back our premium or just let the seller keep it. So let's look at the scenario here. And to recap on what a call option is. You are going to buy a call option because whether you're a hedger or speculator, you think the stock price is going to rise in the near future from here until the May 15th. But you don't want to put all your money into paying 276 for the stock because you know it could fall as well and you could lose your money. So therefore you're paying insurance, €13. By the way, it's dollars. I should have dollars there. You should be paying $13 in order to lock in that strike price of 275, which means it's allowing you to, on the 15th of May, to buy Apple for $275. If Apple goes up to $325, you can still buy it for $275. If Apple falls, actually on the 15th of May, if Apple falls to $225, you don't have to buy it at the strike. You can just buy it at the $225. So that's where we're going with. Okay, so what is the scenario? These actual prices, what would they be like? And what's your action? So can anyone tell me what you would do with your option here? If the stock price ends up being $225 and you had bought an option to buy the stock at $275, what would you rather pay for the stock, $275 or $225?
$225.
Yeah, you'd rather pay for the $225. So do you exercise or abandon your call option?
Abandon.
Yeah, so let's just put AB for abandon. Okay. And likewise, that's the same for every price below the current stock price or the strike price. So again, you abandon. That's why I said you don't have to do this twice because it's already done. You only need 1 point in order to draw a straight line. Here, what do you do if the stock price ends up actually being the same as 276.10? You're either going to abandon or exercise. It doesn't matter. What about here? The stock price ends up being $300. You bought an option at a strike at 275, which means it allows you to buy the stock for 275 rather than 300. So again, because you would rather pay 275 for Apple when it's actually $300 in the market, you exercise your option. And likewise, you do this for any other higher price above the strike. 325 is a better price, but look, you can buy the Apple for 275 and you exercise that option and buy Apple for 275 because the market is selling it for 325. So let's calculate our profit or loss. In this case, you abandon the option. What's your profit or loss? Anyone tell me?
13.10.
Yeah, you only lose 13.10. That's the most you lose. Remember, if you abandon an option, please don't subtract these two numbers. Here's a note you should be taking if you're writing it down, or just type it on there. If you abandon, do not subtract the exercise and the actual price having a negative 50 and then adding another 13.10 onto that, making a negative 63.10. You don't, because you've abandoned the option. You didn't lose $50, okay? Even though you bought at a strike of 275 and the stock ends up being 225, you didn't lose $50. You abandon it, you walk away, and you let the writer keep the 13.10. You're happy with that because it means that you can actually now buy Apple at a cheaper price at 225. But what you end up paying for Apple is 225 if you decide to buy the stock. You end up paying 225 plus you end up having lost the 13.10 strike. So it's effectively you're paying 13.10 because you paid insurance. So your net payment for Apple at that point is $238.10. That's how much you'd pay, this plus this if you were to buy it. So it's a little bit higher, but it's better than paying 276 for it in the market today. Anyone tell me what your loss is here? Is it $25? Is it $13.10? Or is it $38.10?
$13.10.
It's only $13.10
$13.10.
because you abandoned the option. In the actual stock market, if you were buying the stock and it fell to 250, you would have lost 25. But this is an options market, which means that you took out a contract, you paid insurance of $13.10 in case of the fall, and stock price fell, you didn't lose 25, all you lost is 13.10. But what did you pay for the stock if you decide to pay for it? Well, if you decide to go and buy the stock at 250 because it's better than the 276 a couple of months ago, which is today, okay, you'll look back in hindsight, you think, I'm glad I didn't pay 276 for the stock. I'd be willing to pay the 250. However, I paid 13.10 insurance for that, and effectively my net payment is 250 plus my 13.10, which is 263.10. So 263.10 is still cheaper than this one here. Okay, so it's a wait and see. In this case, your actual price ends up being the same as it was back in April and today. So what do you do here? Do you abandon or exercise? As I said, sorry, I already covered that. You do one or the other. So, you know, if you abandon it, you still lose your 13.10. You still lose it if you abandon. If you exercise, look, you're not going to get much, Jana. Just say you did exercise, you get $1.10 here. I suppose is better. And so you can have nearly two answers here. You can have your 13.10 if you decided to abandon, or you could have your $1.10 gain taken off your premium, which will give you a loss of $12. So I'm going to put in the $12 because I still want that $1.10. It's still money, and I don't want the writer to have it. Okay, so always take whatever is yours out of the market. So you see here, you do subtract. If the stock, you might want to make a note, if the actual price is greater than the strike for the call, you do take it away, okay, because you're exercising. And then whatever you have here, you take your 13.10 from it. So I had a gain of $1.10, and $1.10 gain minus my 13.10 is going to give me a loss of 12. So can anyone fill out this one for me then?
1190. Is it?
1190. I'll go through that in a moment. And what about the next one?
3690.
Okay, just to explain again, you exercised, which means you will buy Apple at $275. It's currently $300. So it's like as if you can buy Apple at $275 and sell it straight away at $300, which will lock in your gain at 25. You've paid a premium of 13.10, so you didn't make $25 because you paid insurance. So you had to reduce that by what it cost you. So your overall net profit here is $11.90, $25 minus this. Likewise, you made $50 instantly in the market on Apple. $50 minus 13.10 is going to give you $36.90. And that's what we're going to plot. Okay, we're going to plot your actual price here against your profit and loss, really. Okay, so that's what we're plotting. So you set up your profit profile, you draw your sideways T-bar, okay? So your profit and loss, we put in a 0. I can remove these for the moment, and you scale it. And we're going to scale it based on what we see here. That 276.10 is going to be a little awkward, so I'm going to change that to 275 on my scaling here. So regarding numbers, I don't have to go from 0 all the way up, so 225 is fine. That's fine. You can put in more numbers if you wanted to. You know, you might like to kind of break that axis here just to show that there's more numbers on the downside for Apple stock, but you're acknowledging that those numbers exist, but we don't need them in the diagram. Next thing we do is we identify the strike, where the strike is located. So I just happen to plot it here anyway. So the strike is located. If you put in 276.10, just put in your strike just a little bit less than that, you know yourself by scaling. And I'm going to measure off where my break even is going to be, where the call option, my break even is going to be.
288.10.
So 275 plus the premium, you said was 288.10. And I'm just going to, based on my own judgment, please don't use a ruler and trying to scale it and measure up with the millimeters, okay? So 288.10 to me probably looks around here. So I'm going to mark that off as my break-even point. What I'll do then is I'll look at this, that distance between the strike and my break-even, and I'm going to reproduce that distance between my 0 and that distance is the equivalent of the premium 1310, and there's my 1310 here. So I will write in 1310 to reflect that price of the premium. Okay, negative 1310. And if you noticed, any price below the strike, you abandoned, and therefore the maximum we lost was the 1310, and that's why I will have a straight line going across to my strike, and then I start recovering. Okay, so at 276.10, which is my current stock price, you see a little uptick, and that's the recovery of $1.10. That's where I lose $12. And if you continue that on as a straight line through the point to break even, continue on, you will get every solution irrespective of what high value you chose. So we chose 300 and 325. If you chose 310 and 360 and whatever, your answers will always be reflected off this line here. So at $300, look, at $300 we made 1110. So if I was to scale up and go across here, that'd be about 1110. And look at the distance from 0 to 1110. It's a little bit different from 0 to negative 1310. So it kind of looks good. And again, at 325, if I go up at 325 and across, I will have a profit of 36.90, which we, again, you don't have to mark these off. This is enough. Write a few notes. We abandon at points here below the strike. You're only repeating really what we have up on the table anyway. So you abandon at every point below the strike. You exercise every point above the strike. You're going to be out of the money, OTM if you want to call it that. You're going to be in the money. Here, this is your break even. You can call this at the money. So just a lot of abbreviations. You don't have to spell everything out. This here is your strike if you want to say it. Strike could be represented by X or K, or you can just write out the word strike. And if you want to just write anything further, you have here exposed part is your unlimited gains all the way to the upside. You see your gains are getting higher and higher. And here you have what's called limited losses on the flat line. So you limit your losses to 1310. And if there's 7, usually there's about 7 marks going for this. I know we spent quite a bit of time on it, but you can reduce that time by only using one example either side of the strike, or the stock price, either side of the stock, because you're still going to get the flat line and the straight line here.